GutPunched, Alzheimer's, and Caregivers. Navigating the insidious illness of Alzheimer's is something nobody asks for. The disease sneaks up on you and your loved one, and it feels like you've been sucker punched in the gut. Then you ask, where do we turn for help? Who do we call? What do we do? These questions and more are what we hope to answer and give you some direction and hope. Now let's join our host, Jeff Edwards.
Greetings and welcome. What's happening? Having a good week, I hope. I'm your host, Jeff Edwards, and this is GutPunched, Alzheimer's and Caregivers. Now, if you're here with us today, you're probably looking for information on Alzheimer's and or caregiving. Well, that's why we're here. We share what we know, sharing what we've experienced, and sharing how the information may help you. Now, today, we're going to be talking about drugs. No, not that kind. These are legal and maybe FDA approved. And there's a lot going on with drugs for Alzheimer's patients, and we'll have a quick story about the newest one that has been approved and one that is very close to being approved. We'll also be talking with a couple, a husband and wife, with a wife who has been in a drug study with the NRPC, which is Neuropsychiatric Research Center, testing the Eli Lilly drug, donanemab. Now, this was a very interesting conversation. We'll think you'll find it fascinating as well. Now, before we get started, you know what the rules are? Hope so. Number one, you have to take care of yourself, because if something happens to you, who is going to take care of your loved one? And two, you can't do it alone. You need help. Find a good caregivers group, network with friends or relatives, and get out there and educate yourself. So let's get started.
We'll be right back to GutPunched, Alzheimer's and Caregivers.
My grandmother had Alzheimer's, and I remember we were all in the hospital room, and for like 10 seconds she recognized who we were, and then it was gone. So it's like a thief. It's taking away memories and who you are as a person. Over 5.5 million Americans have Alzheimer's. That number may double by 2050. For more information, visit rightfocus.org.
Some of the medicines for dementia and Alzheimer's are diazepam, which is Aricept, Exelon, and Razidine, which support communication between the nerve cells and are approved for mild to moderate Alzheimer's. Namenda, and a combination of memetrine and diazepam, which are approved for moderate to severe Alzheimer's and improve memory, attention, reason, language, and the ability to perform simple tasks. Aduhelm, or aducanumab, which is a new drug that targets the amyloid plaques in the brain and may slow the progression of Alzheimer's. And I bring those up because they're doing a lot of work looking for new solutions. And there are a couple of them. One has just been approved by the FDA, and another one is very close. They were supposed to okay that one in early June, but they put it on hold for the time being. So let me tell you about this one. The FDA-approved second drug to slow Alzheimer's disease. This was dated July 2nd, Tuesday, 2024. Written by Matthew Perroni. Now, U.S. officials have approved another Alzheimer's drug that can modestly slow the disease, providing a new option for patients in the early stages of the incurable memory-destroying ailment. The Food and Drug Administration approved Eli Lilly's Kisunla on Tuesday for mild or early cases of dementia caused by Alzheimer's. It's only the second drug that has been convincingly shown to delay cognitive decline in patients, following last year's approval of a similar drug from Japanese drug maker Eisai. Now, the FDA-approved Kisunla, known chemically as donanemab, based on results from an 18-month study in which patients getting the treatment declined about 22%, more slowly in terms of memory and cognitive ability than those who received the dummy infusion. The main safety issue was brain swelling and bleeding, a problem common to all plaque-targeting drugs. The rates reported in Lilly's study included 20% of patients with microbleeds and that was slightly higher than those reported with competitor Leqembi. However, the two drugs were tested in slightly different types of patients, which experts say made it difficult to compare the drug safety. Kisunla is infused once a month compared to Leqembi's twice-a-month regime, which could make things easier for caregivers who bring their loved ones to a hospital for clinical treatment. Certainly, getting an infusion once a month is more appealing than getting it every 2 weeks. In the company's study, patients were taken off Kisunla once their brain plaque reached low levels. More than 40% of patients stopped taking the drug after 1 year. Discontinuing the drug could reduce the costs and safety risks of long-term use. It's not yet clear when patients might need to resume infusions. Logistical hurdles, body insurance coverage, and financial concerns have all slowed the rollout of competitor Leqembi, which Eisai co-markets with U.S. partner Biogen. Many smaller hospitals and health systems aren't yet set up to prescribe the new plaque targeting Alzheimer's diseases. Now, first, doctors need to confirm that patients with dementia have the brain plaque targeted by the new drugs. Then they need to find a drug infusion center where patients can receive therapy. Meanwhile, nurses and other staff must be trained to perform repeated scans to check for brain swelling or bleeding. Those are all things a physician has to set up, said Dr. Mark Minturn, who heads Lilly Neuroscience Division. Until they get used to them, a patient who comes into their office will not be offered this therapy. We'll be talking a little bit more about the drug, donanemab, with our guests in just a few. Carol spent almost 18 months in a drug study at NRPC as they were studying donanemab. They both are now research ambassadors with NRPC. They have a very interesting story to tell, and tell they will.
I'm on the phone with Hank Starks and Carol Starks, and they have a great story to tell. A few weeks ago, Hank, you told me an incredible story about your wife's experience in a testing study done with NRPC, which is located in Fort Myers, Florida. And can you share with us that story? How did it come about?
Okay. Well, we actually live in Punta Gorda.
Okay.
We are transplants. When we retired, we decided we wanted to come to Florida, and this is where we wound up. And as far as how we wound up at the research center in Fort Myers, I'm going to let Carol explain that to you.
Okay.
Because it was she who figured it all out.
Great. Hi, Carol. How you doing?
Hello. I'm doing okay.
Tell us, how did you get hooked up with NRPC?
Well, we can thank Google for that.
Okay.
Number one, I was aware something was going on. Hey, it kind of clicked me in along the way a little bit. And I knew I was having trouble with certain things. And I just simply Googled Alzheimer's health, and the neuroscience lab in Fort Myers came up. And I think it's because they were doing drug studies on two different products, one from Biogen and then one from Eli Lilly.
Okay.
And anyway, so it caught my attention. I talked to Hank about it. I really hadn't gotten a whole lot of questions answered by my local doctor, and they weren't really able to do a whole lot for anybody, I guess, that thought they had early Alzheimer's. Mm-hmm. So I needed to go someplace better and get some answers. And when the neuroscience lab came up, they were actually working with the Biogen product. They were looking for volunteers to take the drug. And so we went down there for that, and we didn't initially get in, but we got a call by pretty soon afterwards, and we were offered a spot on the Eli Lilly drug, donanemab, and it was not going to be a blind study. So I felt very thankful that I was going to be getting the treatment and not just wondering if I was getting the treatment. So we got on board and we talked about it, and we went for treatments for about 2 years.
18 months.
Mm-hmm.
18 months.
I never once had a bad experience. Everybody was wonderful. If you had any questions or just great people, you just didn't feel like you were in a a doctor's office. They were just, it all felt like family. You know, I always look forward to going. You know, I did that for 18 months, like we said. And, then when it was over, it's kind of like, now what? You know, because the drug wasn't on the market and I knew I wasn't getting it. And so it really messes with your psyche, you know, after you've been in a drug study and you think you're getting help and all of a sudden it's over. You think you're just going to get rock bottom, you don't continue on some type of medication or help. You know, I've gone to doctors locally and told them how I felt like I was in trouble. I did, you know, a little memory test. And I could basically push my way through it. You know, I wasn't terrible at it, but, you know, I could miss some. And I figured maybe at my age, that's kind of normal once I did miss. But I knew I was having trouble. My mother had Alzheimer's. Hank's mom had Alzheimer's. We were very aware of what it was about. So I just, you know, went to the drug study and I felt hopeful and now we're just waiting to continue treatment. That's just kind of my story. It's there about 2 years now. And the 2 years.
Yeah, it was, that drug study was for 18 months. It ended about last April or something like that, let's just say. So it's been just a little over a year now since the study ended. And so that's sort of how we wound up in Fort Myers.
Gotcha. So when you were taking the drug, psychologically, you probably thought, wow, this is great because I know I'm getting the right stuff. Did you notice any changes? Did you feel better? Was your memory a little bit sharper? And then comparatively, when you stopped, which has been a while now, did you feel maybe less confident and maybe your memory wasn't as good?
That's a good question. Psychologically, it helps you when you're not getting treatment. So I would say once it was over, it was like, now what? I was hoping it was going to be on the market and I'm going to go back and continue treatment. But I haven't because it's held up again, or held up FDA approval right now.
Yeah, they said they initially was like the week of June 14th, but then they decided to hold off and answer a couple of questions. I guess they're just by looking at from the outside is that they're pretty close. They just have to do some things. And if they've gotten this far, that's probably a good thing. And I had read about it even prior, way back when they started talking about it, because some of the other drugs that they have out there are okay, but there's skepticism as to whether they're working or not. And this one initially showed the most promise of anything that was coming out to be able to actually help somebody with the illness. I think it's coming. It's just a matter of when.
Correct. Yeah. I think you're absolutely correct on that. We've been fortunate enough to get to actually talk to a scientist who has been working on donanemab for the last 10 years of his life. Wow. And we got to spend quality time with this gentleman for 2 days in Indianapolis at Eli Lilly's headquarters and their laboratories. We got to ask him a lot of questions. He got to observe Carol, obviously, because we literally were with him from 9 o'clock in the morning till 4 o'clock in the afternoon for 2 days.
Wow.
And we got, like I said, we got to pose questions to him. And some of the question you just asked was, do you feel like it helped you? We have heard that a lot. The answer to that, I honestly think, is you don't know. It helped her mentally, for sure, psyche-wise, because you feel like, you're doing something, right? And we're dealing with a disease that at the moment does not have a cure. And donanemab is not a cure, but it is the start.
Right.
And from that, I got to talk to him about, and I've actually got to talk to him at the neuroscience lab in Fort Myers. John, who basically runs the day-to-day operations of the clinic there, in my opinion, he and I had many in that 18 months. Carol had to go once a month for 18 months. We had many conversations about the whole thing, and AIDS started out with one drug that wasn't curing anybody, but then it became a cocktail. And that cocktail now, if you have AIDS, if you take that pill that is a cocktail of several different drugs, then odds are you'll die of something else. It will not be AIDS. And I tell people, if you know who he is, think about Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson that's back in the 80s, and
Right.
he was diagnosed AIDS, and Magic's still alive today, looks as healthier than me, you know.
They've come a ways with that, and that's what science will do. Try
And
it.
that's
This
what
doesn't work. You try this and try that. Or try a combination. It's like making a
Yes.
salad.
Exactly. And they feel like that's what's going to happen with Alzheimer's, that this is the start. Here's their building block. Here's something to build off of. Now we have to attack other situations. And with that being said, then like we go to the lab tomorrow, Carol is now in a different drug study that is working on, we call it vitamin B1. You could actually buy this over the counter. It's not a prescription. And they think that there again, by itself, it's not a cure. But if it is administered in the right doses, what they think is that it is also a deterrent. So there may be several things that will wind up being something that finds the answer. That's what, when we talked to the gentleman, the scientist that we got to talk with, we talked to him quite a bit about those kind of things. And so, yes, it's a start. So, okay, you get in a drug study. What's that? What does that actually do? A drug study, whether you wind up reaping the benefit of it or not completely, the idea is maybe future generations. We have a daughter, and like Carol said, it runs in her family. Her mother had Alzheimer's. Now Carol has Alzheimer's. My mother had Alzheimer's. So what's the likelihood that we have two offspring, a son and a daughter? What's the likelihood that one of those two or both, or hopefully neither, may have Alzheimer's at some point in their life?
Right.
They know they run a risk, and maybe higher than Carol did, or me independently,
Have they been tested for the gene?
No, they have not. I think, see, that you run into a whole nother thing on that. Our daughter is skeptical from the standpoint of insurance companies. Are they going to look back on this if she gets tested and it says, well, you could have it at some point? Are they then going to, if you wind up with it, saying they're not going to treat you because of pre-existing condition?
Good point.
And try to commute. So, and she's torn on that. And they are right now, Lily is working on a test that will tell you pretty good, they think. And then the idea is to start administering something before you ever get it so that you don't get it. Because if you have it, like we've been talking, it's not going to stop you. It's not going to stop. Will it slow it down? That's the hope right now. Not going to cure you, but will it slow it down? And if it does that allow time then for them to come up with some more parts of this cocktail, or to find something to where they can stop it? That's the hope. And that's probably what the big focus is at the moment is awareness. Get people aware of acknowledging that, this is a bad problem out there, and we got to attack it. And early, you got to attack it. And so that is really, Jeff, we were talking about this before we came on the program here. What is an ambassador? I think what it is, it's going to be, Jeff, is getting people to get out there and get yourself checked, get your siblings checked, get your kids checked, if at all possible. Let's make this part of what a physical is. This is a bad problem. And if it's in your history, why wouldn't you want to check it?
One of the things, and I was going to ask you guys, when you were on this test, Carol, did you change your diet at all? Did you do anything different, or do they tell you just keep doing the same thing you're doing? Because diet has a major effect. The gut affects your brain like you wouldn't believe. We live in a society now, is it really food, or what is this processed stuff they're giving us with all the chemicals and the drugs in these things? And it affects your body, and your body affects your brain. So I was curious, is when you were in the program, did you change anything?
I quit drinking sweet tea. I thought, I know a lot of sugar's not good for you. Right. And so I just thought, nothing I can do to just pull myself away from that and start. I'm not a bad eater anyway. Not really. I cook, meals and we try to eat healthy. I just knew that it was one way I could cut back on the sugar was sweet tea, because I don't like it unless it is sweet tea.
I never realized how bad sugar was for you. But just in general, when you start looking at it and seeing, try to stop doing something that you've done for years and years, and it's got sugar in it, and it's addictive. It's more addictive, I believe, than tobacco.
And it's tough to get off it. And the first 3.5 to 4 days are horrible because your body's craving it. And if you can get to the 5th and 6th day, you can get over that. But it's then so easy to get back to it because you eat something that you weren't paying attention, that's got it in it. And what you were saying, Hank, we have to tell people about it. They have to know about it. Be aware of it, because every year there are more and more and more people being diagnosed with Alzheimer's.
It's really a big thing, Jeff. I was telling a story today on this article that these type of things, to what you're doing, getting people aware that this is out there and that there is hope, but everybody's got to get involved in it. The thing of the research lab, it's getting involved. Go see if you're qualified to get involved in a study. If you decide it's not for you, you just don't do it. These type of things hopefully are going to help down the road. We hope we see some instantaneous things, and that'd be wonderful. But if not, then maybe it's going to help somebody down the road.
Again, progress. But somebody will benefit. You got a lot of smart people. They got to try different things. So why not? Why not?
Just this one company, just Lilly themselves, have invested over $8 billion in Alzheimer research.
That's a lot of money. Yeah.
At 10,000 failures before they came up with the Nanomat. That's a lot of work. We just don't know. And as these people work on it, the Wright brothers, these were bicycle repairmen. They loved the thought of flying. And it was when one of them was out looking at birds when he realized how a feather worked. You may be out at your kid's soccer game, but if you're in the lab all the time, you're not giving your brain an opportunity to have those epiphany moments. Excellent. I said, so take it for yourself to be able. And I literally had people, these scientists, where the breakthrough comes through. Who knows?
Carol, where do you go from here? When the drug finally gets approved and becomes available, are you going to take it if possible?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Why would I sit back? I think, I'll try anything that I think will help. And I'd already done the drug study, and I felt like that bought me some time.
We know for a fact that it dropped because of the research that they did and what we got told. It drops it. The amyloid 30%. Now, it won't eliminate. It will not eliminate it. That 30% buys you time.
Treatment.
Time may be they get the cocktail worked out. Who knows?
Yeah. So hopeful. I believe in Eli Lilly, and I believe in this drug. That's been, 2-3 years ago now that I got into it. I feel like I'm holding my own. I still drive. Fight with myself every day. And I talk to myself. If I ever get to the point where I know I can drive safely, I'll park the car.
Yep.
Certain things that I just feel like it's too hard for me to do, like maybe do the grocery shopping, which Hank pretty much has taken over at this point. But I still, I still cook. I still cook meals, keep the house up, and I'll keep myself up. I'll go get my nails done. I'll try to still look nice. I know that keeps me mentally attached to what I need to be doing to stay fit in a different way, because this is all mental. When something's wrong with your brain, it's so mental. And so I feel like if I can keep up the other things that makes me feel good about myself, I need to do that.
That's a good thing. And those things make a difference, because once you lose hope, you're done. Good night, Irene, as they used to say. But that's good to hear. Is there anything else you'd like to share with us? Any advice you want to give to other people who might be considering using the new drug when it comes out, or maybe they haven't done anything? What do you think?
Well, yes. I mean, you have to be, active. You have to, whatever's out there that gives you hope, you need to get involved, and you need to support it and be hopeful, just being hopeful. Always be honest with yourself. If you're having a bad day, you're having a bad day. That's just being human. Don't be too hard on yourself, but at the same time, be good to yourself.
That's excellent advice. Excellent. I want to thank you for your time and sharing this great information with us. I hope for the best for both of you. I think you got the tiger by the tail, another old saying, but you know what you need to do and you're doing it. And that is half the battle right there. You guys have a story. You're positive and you're well-spoken and you take care of each other, and that is more than you can ask for. Just share. It'll be contagious in a good way.
Your podcast, spreading the word. We have to get the word out.
It means everything.
Yes, it does.
We'll be right back to Gut Punched, Alzheimer's and Caregivers.
Are you the caregiver for someone living with dementia? You're not alone.
I was a caregiver for my wife for 10 years, and it was a lot of work.
I'm a caretaker for my wife who has Alzheimer's.
I'm a caregiver of my husband that has CTE, and it's incredibly challenging.
The Dubin Center in Fort Myers has been offering free educational classes and support since 1995.
The Dubin Center has helped me exponentially with so many questions answered. It's just been great.
This is Gut Punched, Alzheimer's and Caregivers.
Hope you enjoyed the conversation. A couple facing illness, but full of energy in furthering possible cures and full of hope. The secret ingredient that keeps them going. Next episode, and I'm excited about this one, we'll have as our guest a 3-time international best-selling author, a leadership coach, professional speaker, and educator. Her name is Sue Ryan. We'll be talking about her book, The Caregiver's Journey, and the online course with the same name, The Caregiver's Journey. She's got a new book coming out and her new podcast endeavor. You won't want to miss this. We hope that if you know someone who has a family member or friends who are dealing with a loved one who has Alzheimer's or any type of dementia, that you would let them know about this podcast. We're working on making our website a bit more user-friendly and adding many more links and books that you can use for getting more information about Alzheimer's, dementia, and caregivers. For more information, you can check out the Alzheimer's Support Network at https://alzsupport.org/about-us. The Dubin Center, which is dubincenter.com. And to find your local chapter of the Alzheimer's Association, you can visit alz.org/local-resources/find your local chapter. Now, if you have questions, any questions or thoughts about Gut Punched, Alzheimer's, and Caregivers, or if there is a specific topic you'd like to know more about, reach out to us, please. The website is gutpunched.com, and the email is gutpunchedac@outlook.com. A special shout out to Rick Peterson, Aura Santana, Gentry Thomas, Dan Moser, the Dubin Center, and my wife for their tremendous help and support in making this podcast possible. Thanks for joining us, and please come back again for more. God bless.
This has been Gut Punched, Alzheimer's and Caregivers, with your host, Jeff Edwards. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to us on all the platforms like Spotify, Apple, Pandora, and more. If you have a question or want to get in touch, our email is gutpunchedac@outlook.com.